Hello, hello. Welcome. Good evening, dear friends. Good evening, and welcome to Beyond the Pain live video. Good evening, one and all. Wow, thank you, Lord. I'm glad to be here today. I am in a gratitude mode. My heart is singing for joy. I have countless reasons to be grateful. And I want to invite you to join me tonight as I share my story and celebrate and honor the memory of my organ donor. August is a very special month for me. And for those of you who might have been following me for some time, you'll know that August is that month that April. April is a very special month for me. It's the most important month for me after my birth month. And it is the month when I received um, a lung transplant. And before I continue, I just want to make sure that we are live on all our channels and all our friends are here with us. So if you would like to share and invite others, that would be great. I'm just going to do the same and then we will start. Today is very special for me. I mean, I remember where I was 13 years ago. Hmm. If I begin to tell the story of that night 13 years ago, we will be here for a very long time. But I'm grateful. I'm so grateful because when I went into the hospital on that April 13th, and as I shared with some of you yesterday, those of you who follow my posts, I shared that April 13th is significant because that was the day the gift was given. Which gift am I talking about? The gifts of the lungs that are here today. And what makes that even significant is the fact that in Switzerland, where I live, on the average, 1 to 2 persons die every week waiting for a new organ. And that statistics may vary from country to country, but I'm speaking specifically for Switzerland, where I live. 1 to 2 persons will die every week while they are still waiting for organ transplant. And that means it's an average of about 73 people per year who pass away while they're still waiting. In 2013, when I got the lungs, 73 people passed away while they were on the waiting list. I was on the waiting list for 3 years. And when I got that phone call on April 13th, 2013, and the doctor on the other end told me that they have found a donor for me, I knew what has happened. I knew someone has given me a gift that I would never be able to say thank you to them on this side of the divide because I needed a deceased donor. You cannot give a part of your lungs and leave. You can't give you. I needed the two lobes of lungs, and you can't give that as a gift and be alive. So I needed a deceased donor, and my unknown benefactor, who had committed to being an organ donor, because in this country you have to have registered to be an organ donor, and the family also have consented. You know, that person became available for me and was a suitable match after 3 years of waiting to get a suitable match. Interestingly, on that year, 2013, when I got the organ donor, there were 1,274 patients on the waiting list for different kind of organs. I was waiting for lungs. Now, in that year, only 110 people donated lungs. So you can just imagine the odds that were stacked against me to be able to get a suitable organ donor and to be, on the queue to be able to receive it. In a country that is not my country of birth, it's my country of naturalization. And for that alone, I'm so grateful that I I was able to get a match, a suitable organ donor. And here, organ donation is a donation. It is a gift. It's a sacrificial gift, right? And so for me, the miracle is multifaceted because when the lungs became available on April 13th, it was a Saturday evening. By the time I got to the hospital and I was prepped for the surgery, it was already going into the new day, Sunday, April 14th. So it was on April 14th that the doctors actually took out my diseased lung and they replaced it with the organ, with the one that was donated for me. And, my body fought against it. I almost rejected. I had to be in coma for about 5 weeks, while they stabilized the situation. And in that period, I was on a heart and lung machine. And so the miracle is first and foremost that I found a suitable donor for me. The second miracle is that my body accepted it because it could have rejected it outright. It's a foreign organ. And for me to have survived that surgery, I mean, the lung transplant and then all the complications that came after, that in itself is a miracle. And why am I sharing that in a space where we call Beyond the Pain? Because, yes, that is part of the story of going beyond our painful experiences. This is my painful experience. That is one of my painful experiences. And how did I go beyond it? And what am I doing with my story today as part of what I want to share with you today? But I just don't want to share it for the sake of sharing it. I want to share my story in a way that honors my organ donor, and a way that encourages and inspires other people to consider being an organ donor as well. And to let you know how that decision to be an organ donor can transform somebody else's life. Because at the end of the day, this body is only useful for us while we are here on earth. And the tissues that we no longer need can become available, an opportunity for another person to have a second chance at living a healthy life. Before I got the lungs, I was on ventilator, in a non-invasive ventilator for 3 years. All through the period I was on the waiting list, I was also on ventilator. It meant that I needed a machine to help me to breathe every day when I go to sleep and sometimes during the day, so that my diseased lung will not just stop working and forget to breathe. And yesterday I shared that life is precious and every breath is a miracle. That is how I got to know that every breath that I was taking was a miracle. Just being able to take breath effortlessly in itself is a special gift from God that I must be grateful for. And part of the expression of my gratitude is to honor and be appreciative of this precious gift that I had been given. And, it's not something that I can afford to be quiet about. And it's something that I have to be vocal about. I need to express the gratitude in appreciation of what God has done for me. And, I can never find words that are adequate enough to say thank you. And I will never be able to say thank you to my organ donor, because it's like I mentioned, there are two types of organ donation: the living donor and deceased donor. What I needed was a deceased donor. Somebody had to die for me to live. I always put a caption that there are two people who died for me. Jesus died for me, and my organ donor died for me. And that's why I really want to honor the extraordinary courage of those who choose to become organ donor. Because, even for the deceased donor, you have to have, taken that decision and register as an organ donor before that moment when the person is passing away, has, for whatever reason it may be for. And so that courageous decision to become an organ donor, is one that saves lives. It saved my life. It's one that restores hope to others, that gives us the hope of a purposeful life. And that is what it did for me. That one timely decision leaves a legacy that can never fade away. It is a living legacy. I am a living legacy of my organ donor. And I don't know how many of us received our organ from my unknown benefactor. We are all living legacies of my unknown benefactor. Because one person can actually provide organs for up to 8 people. Imagine one person can keep 8 people alive, give 8 people the opportunity to continue to live, to hope, to rejoice, to be with family again. And it's not something that they only make a decision about. Their families also have to be in agreement. And can you imagine, in the midst of their own grief, in the midst of the pain of watching their loved one going away, they are agreeing that the organs of this loved one be harvested and be given to those who are in need of it, so that others can live even though they are losing their own loved one. They have lost their own loved one. I mean, that for me in itself is an act of selflessness. It's a selfless sacrifice, that even in the midst of your pain, in the midst of the grief of your loss, you are able to support somebody else. You're able to say that somebody else can continue to live. At least 8 people. And so, for me, I believe that it's not just the organ donors that I honor today. I also honor their families who agreed, who were willing that their loved ones can give their organs to others to live. For living donors, we have people who can donate one of their kidneys. They can donate part of their liver lobes or even lung lobes that can generate a gain. But for those who, somebody like me, whose both lobes were diseased, I needed a deceased donor. And this is the kind of donation that takes place after the person has passed away. Typically, somebody who is brain dead or has had a cardiac death. And so I knew that my own donor is going to be a deceased donor. I knew that somebody is going to die for me to be able to live. And so today I want to talk about this. What am I doing with my own story? What am I doing with this precious gift that has been given to me that allows me to honor my organ donor? One of the things that I chose to do is to speak about it every year in April. Every April, because interestingly, though April was when I received the lungs, April is also National Give a Life, awareness month, because really what organ donors do is they give life. You're giving somebody an opportunity to live again. So I want to do that, to honor that choice, that decision that you give a life for somebody to live again. And since I got my lungs, the new lungs in April, I chose to dedicate that month to talking about organ donation. And another thing that I do every April is because is the Feet of Grace charity work. Now, what is Feet of Grace charity work all about? Because of the complications of the organ transplant, after I received the lungs, my body started shutting down. All my organs started shutting down, and my body went into a shock. And I had to be in a coma, medically induced coma for about 5 weeks. And by the time I came out of coma, um, I lost both legs. Both my hands and my legs, did not have sufficient blood circulation, and therefore the doctors wanted to amputate both my hands and my legs. But miraculously, my hands recovered. But I lost both legs, and so I became a bilateral amputee shortly after I came out of coma. And so I set up the foundation, Feet of Grace Foundation, that raises funds for other people who have lost their legs to walk again. I lost 2 legs, but my desire was for other people to walk again. So we do a charity work and awareness, creation work about the plights facing people with disabilities in poor countries, in poor communities. And the work takes place in different countries around the world to create that awareness about what happens to people with disabilities in developing countries. And currently, the foundation is working in Nigeria and in Uganda. But we do the work in April in honor of the memory of my organ donor. Today is all about talking about honoring my organ donor, my unknown benefactor, the family. I wanted something that will continue to perpetuate this legacy. I'm a living legacy, and I want that legacy to be perpetuated. And so we work in April. So this year we're going to start the Feet of Grace charity work on the 25th of April here in Switzerland and in Uganda. And the work is going to take place in different cities around the world from April all the way to July. This is one of the ways that I honor the memory of my unknown benefactor. I call him my unknown benefactor because I don't know him, but he benefited me. He gave me a precious gift that has kept me alive till today. Now, other ways that I also honor my organ donor was when I wrote my book, Grace in the Storms, which is the story of my life. I dedicated it to my organ donor, and that's the page I always write on. And what I put there as dedication is in honor of my unknown benefactor and organ donors who give so that others may live. Organ donors give so that others may live. And that's why I chose to dedicate this book to my my organ donor, and to those who give so that others may live. The reason here is that, there is an adage where I come from that he that is capable of deep and reflective thinking will always, always find reasons to be thankful. When I look at the story of my life and the journey that brought me to the place where I needed, where I needed to have a lung transplant, it would be I would be of all women most unreasonable and unthinking if I do not live the rest of my life in an attitude of thanksgiving for the opportunity that I was given to be able to live a meaningful life. I mean, it would just be on. I don't even have any word that can describe that level of ingratitude if I do not choose to live my life in, in honor and in with gratitude every day that I've been given. I know where I was coming from when it was so difficult even to take a single breath, where I couldn't even talk for half a second without coughing and struggling to breathe. Living was so challenging. I was on oxygen supplementation for 7 years because of the situation with my lungs. And so I cannot see how else that I'm going to live the rest of my life except with absolute gratitude and doing everything that I can to show my appreciation for this precious gift, the gift of life, the gift of breath, being able to speak effortlessly, being able to breathe effortlessly, and being having the opportunity to see my dreams come to pass. Last Saturday, my first son got married. And that God kept me in the land of the living to see my two sons getting married. My second son got married November last year. And in the space of 6 months, my two sons are married and I'm here. I saw it happening 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That looked an impossible. It looked like an impossibility for me. I wondered if I would be alive to see those two young men get married. And because of the gifts of this organ, this lungs, I'm alive today to tell the story. I'm alive today to tell this testimony. And that's why I'm so, so grateful that I do not have words adequate enough to express the joy that flows in my heart, the gratitude overflowing in my heart for this precious gift of the lungs that has been given to me. You see, for this second chance, I can only live my life with gratitude for being given a second chance to live a purposeful life, to live a productive life, to be able to impact other people's lives. I mean, to have an enhanced quality of life. It's one thing to be alive, it's another thing to live with quality of life. Now I can do almost everything that I used to be able to do before, except, of course, running or jogging, because as a bilateral amputee, that is a challenge for me. And to enjoy being with family, to enjoy being with friends. And I have had 13 years so far, and I know that that's just the beginning. And that's why my heart sings with joy. That's why my heart, you know, will continually express gratitude. This Psalm 34 says that, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that's within me, praise his holy name. Another translation says, let the praises of God perpetually be upon my lips. I am that person that must say, let the praises of God perpetually be upon my lips. As I will bless the Lord at all times. I will never forget his benefits. I will call my soul to order and say, you must never forget the benefits of God. I think that the only response that is possible for me as a lung transplant survivor, as one um, who has been given the second chance, is an appreciation of the preciousness of life. I have a renewed appreciation of the preciousness of life. I have a new meaning for life. I have a new purpose for life. And all of this has been made possible because of the life-changing gift, the life-transforming gift that was given to me by my organ donor. He has given me an opportunity to have new opportunities, meet new people. He has given me opportunities for growth, for new connections, for fulfillment, new opportunities to be able to touch other people's lives for good. And so the least that I can do is to live a life of perpetual gratitude that honors the memory of my organ donor and gives glory to God. One year, I really desired to be able to meet the family of my organ donor. In this country, it's a sealed, it's closed, except the family of your organ donor that chooses to meet you. You can't look for them. It's a closed thing. But I had to do a video that just to express my gratitude to the family of my organ donor, to let them know that the difference, the gifts that they agreed for their loved ones to give to me, it's not only impacting my life, but it's impacting the lives of so many people beyond me. And that the legacy of their loved one is living through me. But I don't know if they will ever get to see the video, but I just know that I will put it out there. Maybe someday they will stumble on it and they will see, because I wanted them to know what I'm doing with this precious gift that they have given me. Living life with the best intentions, living life to honor and glorify God, and living life to touch other people's lives for good. I'm so grateful to God for the numbers of people that has been searched through the Feet of Grace Foundation, the number of women and children who have received limbs because we set up this foundation. I'm grateful to God for the number of people who has been inspired not to give up on hope through the work that I do at Beyond the Pain. I'm grateful to God for the people who have been experienced emotional healing with the work that I do as a trauma coach. All of this is possible because I am alive today, because of these lungs. So, my way to pay it forward is to continue to encourage other people to consider organ donation. I know that it's a subject we hardly talk about, but this has to be a free will donation. It's not it is called donation because it's a donation. It's not something that is paid for. It's a selfless act that saves lives. And part of the process is for you to find out in your own country what the process for organ donation is. And many countries have registries for organ donation. You may want to check in the teaching hospital that is closest to you, or find out if there is a national registry. But it requires you to go through medical evaluation because, of course, they want to ensure that you are healthy and you're suitable also for transplant, to be able to donate for transplantation. And most times, if for the living donors, you may be able to say, okay, I decide I'm going to donate to a specific person, maybe from a family who needed organ. But most of the time, when you have a deceased donor, they have to find a suitable donor, which requires matching, a long waiting time for the compatibility to be assured. I had to go through long process of evaluation of both physical, mental, medical, psychological evaluation to be considered to be a suitable candidate for organ donor. They have to be sure that the organ that is donated is going to make a difference for me and it's not going to be a waste on me. And so this is one of the reasons why the more people that are donating, the more people that will be kept alive. Like I mentioned earlier, the year that I got the donation, there were over 1,000 people on the waiting list. And throughout the year, there were only 110. And 73 people passed away while they were still on that waiting list. It is important to have the consent of your family. So before while you are making that decision to be an organ donor, you must also discuss with your family, because at the time when that happens, and the family needs to consent as well. The good news is that everything is kept confidential. Like up to today, I don't know who my organ donor is. I would love to, but I don't. But it doesn't stop me to being grateful for the gifts. I may never know the person here on earth. I may never know the name of the person. I may never know the family of the person. But I know that when I get to heaven, I will find the person and I will be able to say thank you. Organ donation can have profound impact on the recipients. It does have a profound impact on me, because it has transformed my life in many ways that I cannot even begin to list out for you. The change that has taken place in my physical living since I got the lung transplant, the change that's taken place in my emotional and psychological well-being, the relief that has come to my family, because it's not even just about me alone, it's also about my family, both my nuclear and my extended family, the relief that has come to them, knowing that I will still be here to be part of their lives, to be part of their joy, to be part of the things that they are doing. Organ donation has extended my lifespan. It has kept me here. And I am trusting every day that it will continue to hold me here in the land of the living. And I take care as best as I can this precious gift, not just because I must do so, but also in honor of the person who has given this to me. So I don't know what your own specific journey with pain has been, but I want you to know that in everything that we go through in life, there will always be opportunities for gratitude. And we can turn it to gratitude. We can live in gratitude through all our experiences. I mean, learning to live with gratitude for me did not just start after I received the lungs. It was something that I knew was important for my emotional and spiritual well-being. To live a life that looks beyond the moment, that counts blessings, that sees what is in the cup. It helped to maintain my mental well-being and kept me stable, because that is also important for me to be able to go through the process of lung transplant. So whatever your own story with adversity may be, whatever painful experiences you may have endured, I want to encourage you to find reasons to be grateful for life. Every every breath that you take is precious. Every breath is a miracle. For those of us who have lived with respiratory disease, we can tell you that every breath is a miracle. For me to be alive breathing today, somebody had to die for me to be alive, still breathing today. And that's why I cannot stop but to honor my unknown benefactor who gave me these precious gifts on April 13th, 2013. And I received that gift into my chest on April 14th, 2013. And by the grace of God, that lung is still working till today. And I know that I will still get many more years out of it by the grace of God. My dear friend, in the case that you are considering organ donation, I just want you to know that that is a good decision. You will be making a difference for somebody. At the end of your own life, you will be leaving a living legacy behind you. The greatest acts of kindness is not always in the grand, spectacular gesture. They are often never seen. Nobody is going to see the gift of the new lungs, healthy lungs that I receive, but everyone can feel it. I can feel it. And everyone who's come around me knows that the gift of these new lungs has made a difference in my life. And it is impacting the lives of those around me for good. And that's one of the decisions that you can also make, to be that one whose act of kindness, sacrificial kindness, will give somebody else a heartbeat, will keep them breathing for even much longer. Find out from your vicinity, from your hospital, how you can become an organ donor and help share the gift of life. You can give life to someone. And I hope that what I've shared with you today will convince you that organ donation saves lives. Organ donation gives other people second chances. So once again, I say thank you so much to God for giving me a second chance to live through my organ donor. And I say a big thank you to my organ donor for making that decision. I'm going to be forever grateful. And I say a big thank you to the families of my organ donor for accepting and consenting for their loved one to be an organ donor. For those of you listening to me today, I want to encourage you to find a way to touch other people's lives for good. Make a difference. Leave a legacy that will continue to resound after you. Let your life make a meaning and a difference for others. Yeah, that is what a living legacy is all about. So I want to thank you very much for joining me this evening for this live video that's dedicated to the memory of my organ donor, my unknown benefactor. And I want to remind you again, organ donation saves lives. It saved mine. Life is precious, truly. And every breath that we breathe is a miracle. Every breath we breathe is a miracle. And you can be grateful for the breath that you have as you consider being an organ donor. Thank you so much for this time together. And I really, really pray that something will inspire you and make you think seriously about organ donation. Good night and God bless you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to DM me or send a message. Good night.